Hi, a really warm welcome to the Vicarage table as we gather again tonight just to think about what's going on in our world and our lives and maybe where God is with us on that journey. I was thinking about what I might say to you this evening. It's been another really tough day. 569 more people dead from coronavirus and life still being very different to everything that we know. I started to think about what life is like when it is different to something we know and understand. And I started to think about the psalmists. There were people who wrote songs for the Bible. They were involved in helping people to connect with God. In Israel, there were 3 major celebrations every year that would go on in Jerusalem. The first was the Passover, where people celebrated the freedom of people from the slavery and oppression of the Egyptians and the plagues. Then there was the Tabernacle of the Feasts, where they celebrated the freedom that they found in the Promised Land after 40 years of journeying in the desert. And then Pentecost, which was a celebration of harvest, gathering in the crops, bringing sacrifices of the animals to the temples. All of those things were the keystones of a year in Jerusalem. And people would have gathered from all over. They'd have come with donkeys and family crowds. There would have been singing and dancing and chatter and smell and everything that is as far away as we can probably imagine in this time of social distancing that we're keeping at the moment. The psalms that were written for people to sing on the way to those festivals were joyous. They would have been a celebration of the love of God, praising, cheering, and bright. And then, in amongst the psalms, we come across some that are more difficult. The one that I'm going to read to you now is today's reading from the lectionary, which is what the church chooses, a selection of readings for every day. It comes from Psalm 42. As a deer longs for flowing streams, so my soul longs for you, O God. My soul thirsts for God, for the living God. When shall I come and behold the face of God? My tears have been my food day and night, while people say to me continually, where is your God? These things I remember as I pour out my soul, how I went with the throng and led them in procession to the house of God with glad shouts and songs of thanksgiving, a multitude keeping festival. Why are you cast down, O my soul, and why are you disquieted within me? Hope in God, for I shall again praise him, my help and my God. That psalm was written to somebody who lived a long way from Jerusalem, who would have been used to attending those festivals every year, all the years of their lives, and then found themselves in a different situation. We're not entirely sure why this psalmist couldn't get to Jerusalem, but we know there were political machinations. We know there were the Israelites taken captive. We know people would have been prevented at some point from getting to those festivals. So there is a believer unable to join in with the throng and the singing and the life of their worshipping community. That rings some real bells for us now. I had a conversation just this afternoon with somebody who is in their late 90s and was contemplating the thought of Easter without church. She's been a churchgoer from the cradle to the day now that she lives in, and not being part of the throng of worship during the journey of Holy Week and into Easter Day is making her feel just so bereft and dry. And I thought about this psalmist and what it's like when we are in the midst of something very different, something we don't understand. And it really made me think about what I thirst for. In these hardest moments, What do I need to nourish me? In the psalm we heard about a deer thirsting for living streams. When a deer is chased, it will run and run and run, and it will know a thirst like no other. And at the end of that chase will need to drink and drink deeply to replenish themselves. And I thought it's quite like that now in these days and in these moments when things are so tough and hard for us that we cannot put them into the context of our lives. And that's when we thirst more and more for an understanding and for an answer. Jesus knew that same feeling of seeking to understand God's presence with him as he died on the cross for you and for me. When he cried out in those last moments, he was searching for the living God, searching to know that love beyond all else. That's what I thirst for. I thirst for that understanding of God in my heart, in my life, on the days where nothing else makes sense. But I want to be able to drink deeply from him. And even if you have never read the Psalms or never heard the story of Jesus, in these days and in these times, you might be looking for answers. You might be trying to make sense of a dryness that you feel in your life, or a fear that you feel, or just a sense of loss that is greater than you can describe. So those people who would gather in Jerusalem with their singing and their dancing and their praising, even though we aren't able to join with the singing and the dancing and the praising at this moment and in our life, just like the psalmist wrote those beautiful words, we can still seek to know each other. We can still seek to know the love of God, and we can still seek that living water that is ours always. As we continue our journey towards Easter, I pray that we are all able to drink from that living water, and that we are all able to help one another, however that looks, whatever that may be. And as we come together, when we can come together, we come renewed, refreshed, and full of hope. Goodbye for now. God bless.